Okay, so today I'm going to demonstrate a technique on tying extended bodies. And this was really requested for a dear friend of mine, Dan. And so Dan, this video is for you, and we're going to get started. I'm going to start with standard clear tubing. It comes in different colors, but I found that the different colors don't seem to have the elasticity as this clear tubing does. And when I buy it, I kind of pull it out of the package and see how it stretches. To me, it's very important for this type of technique that it has a lot of stretch to it. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and remembering that it stretches, I'm going to go ahead and cut about 3/16 of an inch of this material. And before I do that, I'm going to take my pin, and it's not a needle, there's no eye in the end, it's got a head on it. It's just a regular sewing pin, and I'm going to go ahead and insert it into the tube. The diameter of my pin and the inside diameter of the tube is perfect for this. So as you can see. So now I'm going to slide it back out to about where I've got 3/16 of an inch, and I'm going to come in and I'm not going to cut it straight off, I'm going to cut it on a slant, and that's so that I get a nice point on my tails. So there you can see the slant, and I'm going to go ahead now and slide this the rest of the way on the needle, just like that. And I'm going to insert my needle into the jaw. Now, don't go and crank this thing down and break your jaws. It doesn't have to be held that hard, just like a regular hook. Now I'm going to take some dubbing wax or lip balm like I use and coat just a very light bit on my needle. I don't need a lot. What I'm going to do is this is a releasing agent for the tube to come off the needle. I'm going to slide it on, and I'll instantly feel the lubrication inside the tube where it'll rotate around that needle so easily, and now I know that job is done. So now with that said, choosing the thread, number one, it's very important to understand that the size of this thread is what's going to give you the size of your body. So stay with the smallest thread that you possibly can. And right now I'm staying with this Vivus 8/0. And the reason I'm using this Vivus 8/0 is because number one, I like Vivus and the way it lays, but most of all, I really like the color of what I'm tying to match the rusty browns that I use here in Bennett Springs and Montauk. So with that said, let's get started. So if you noticed, I have the angled cut towards the jaws of the vise. Give yourself plenty of room here on the end of this tag to hold it, because hold your thread, because as you wrap your bobbin around the tube, it's going to see how it rotates. That's a good thing for your releasing agent, but it's kind of hard to get started at first. So push your tube up against the vise and now pull towards you and away from you at the same time, using that tag end of your thread to get started. And now as you can see, I'm going to go ahead and wrap touching wraps on down my tube. And please notice that I didn't start right on the edge of this tube. I started a little bit off the edge. And the reason for that is I'm going to use that also where I tie in. But notice how now the tube is starting to grow as I'm compressing it. As I'm wrapping down, the tube is getting longer. It started out as at 3/16, but there we go. And now, let me pull it back some more away from the vise. I no longer need that vise to hold it. And I'm just going to go ahead now and cut my tag in and get it out of the way. I no longer need it to hold my tube from spinning. So let's insert some tails, and I'm going to use the same color microfiber. It's tan because I'm tying a rusty brown or root beer dry. So I don't really concern myself too much with the tail numbers at this time. I just grabbed me a handful. So one of the things you want to remember on creating an extended body is that a portion of this body is going to be tied in on the hook itself, which will become the thorax. So 2/3 of the length is going to be actually your body that's going to extend your abdomen, extending off the back of the hook. So when you do your tails, you want to kind of look at that and realize that it's still going to grow a wee bit more. So I'm going to take my tails and I'm going to just kind of pinch them and tie them in just like I would on a normal hook. And as you can see, I'm just going to continue my touching thread wraps. And I'm not too concerned how the tails act on top, but I kind of like that length. And from here, I'm going to actually shorten them up just a little. There we go. And now, as you can see, I'm kind of gotten close to the edge of that tube and I'm done. So now I'm going to go ahead and wrap back and I'm going to start compressing down that tube body. And I'm just going to keep on compressing. And I'm just going to wrap on back. And I'm hoping the light shows you what's happening to the body. Now the body I'm not compressing as I get back here because I want the diameter of my body to be a little bit longer. Okay, so there you have that, and you can see now how the body is shaped. You have some options here. You can now dub, you can whip finish and complete your body with it as it is right now, which I've done many a time. But I want to also show the technique here at this time on dubbing the body. So now I'm going to take some of my colored superfine, if you can see that. And this is also the color and the material I use on my thoraxes on my dry flies for the rusties. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to kind of add this on. And I use dubbing wax because I really less is more. And I'm going to go ahead and just kind of start creating a little bit of a taper. I don't want to get a whole lot going on, but I want to get that color transferring from my thorax that's going to be on my actual fly body, and I want to get it onto this abdomen. So there we have it. I've got a nice carrot shaped body, and I'm going to go ahead and whip finish this off, and I'm going to stay on the tube. Be careful on that head of the needle or pin that it doesn't grab your thread when you whip finish. And so from here, I take that off and now I cut. So this is where our pliers come in. I'm using a serrated edged pliers because I just want to use it to reach in and lock the head of that needle so that now I can go ahead and take my thumbnail, reach in with my thumbnail, and gently coerce that body right off the needle. And now here is where I get to look at it. And there you have a really cool looking, durable body that now is ready to be tied on. Notice the shape, tied on to a hook. And it is going to match my thorax and flies. And you can see how flexible it is thanks to the tubing and how durable it is. And notice that I didn't use any glues. I didn't use any UV glue or any of that other stuff. And I can sit here, which I've done, and tie 10, 20 of these things up all at once with different colors, different materials, and set myself up for the next day to tie mayflies or caddis bodies. Caddises, This body I tie exactly like this in the color of my caddises, but I just don't put tails on them. And then I go ahead and tie extended body caddises. So join me in the next film, and what I'm going to do next will be build a mayfly body with using one of these right here. So Dan, stay tuned, buddy. There you go. Very simple, very easy tie for an extended body that can go all the way down to a size 22. On most of these, I'm fishing size 20s, 18s, all the way to a 16. Yeah, you can use a larger tube for a 14 or a 12 if you want. There you go, an extended body.